Good evening. My name is Amy Sayward, and I will serve as the moderator for this candidate forum. This forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, and the City of Laverne. The League believes that candidate forums provide an excellent way for voters to become more familiar with candidates and their positions. The League seeks to conduct our forums in a fair and unbiased manner, which does not favor any candidate or party. Key participants, including the moderator, are not publicly aligned with any candidate. As part of our commitment to voter service, the League attempts to schedule candidate forums for most general contested elections in Rutherford County. We invite all candidates to participate. It is my pleasure to welcome both our audience here in the Laverne City Hall and our viewers at home of this program. This evening, we will be hearing remarks from the candidates for the Laverne Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Before introducing the candidates, I would like to outline the procedure for the forum. Each candidate will be asked to make an opening statement and answer the first question in a 2-minute period. When all candidates have completed their opening statement and answered the first question, then several additional questions will be asked. The candidates will respond to each of those questions with a 1-minute answer. For the last question, the candidates will be allowed 2 minutes to answer and make any closing remarks. Our candidates tonight are Matt Church, Jason Cole, Calvin Jones, and Kathy Tyson. I will begin. I want to thank each of you for your gracious appearance and answering our invitation to participate in this event. Speaking first tonight, and we'll alternate between the candidates, and I will repeat the question for each candidate. Speaking first tonight is Matt Church. Mr. Church, you may make your opening statement and answer the following question. What do you see as the top 3 issues facing Laverne?
Thank you for the question. First of all, I would like to show my appreciation and gratitude to the League of Women Voters for hosting this for the citizens of Laverne. The top 3 things on the agenda that I have is, I guess growth would be our biggest concern in Laverne. Laverne was established to be an industrial city and a housing area, and it succeeded in both. We have the largest industrial park in Tennessee. We also have the largest subdivision in the southeast. So we have accomplished our goals that have been set forth. What I do feel is growth comes with troubles. And when you maximize your growth like we have in Laverne, you have a shortfall on roads, you have a shortfall in revenue, you have a shortfall in retail. Our fire and police are overworked and undermanned. So those are some of the things to get the ball rolling, as we've said in the past. The most important thing are the people that never left Laverne. There's a generation of people that have been here through all the growth, through the good and the bad. And in my opinion, they're kind of forgotten. A lot of these people, they just live their day-to-day lives, and all they have is Laverne. So what I hope to do, we can intervene the new folks that are moving in, that are building beautiful homes across the interstate, and also intervene the folks that live right back here off of Stones River Road. These people have been here for a very long time. So my goal is to not forget the seniors, bring them into the day-to-day operations of the city. So thank you.
Thank you. The same question, Mr. Cole. What do you see at your opening statement and what you see as the top 3 issues facing Laverne?
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the City of Laverne for having this forum. Thank everyone for coming out. My name is Jason Cole, longtime resident. My parents moved here. They built their house, roughly 20 years ago. My wife and I, when we decided we wanted to buy our first house and start a family, we wanted it to be here in Laverne. We served in the community, whether it was on the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, where helped work on the farmers market as well as the initial phases of the Veterans Wall. I serve on the beer board, and I volunteer throughout the community. So I've got a big heart for this community. I want to see our city grow and succeed and be a great place for everyone. The three top issues that I see for our city are, number one would be crime. We've heard for several months Chief Walker saying that calls for service has increased roughly 37.3%. We have an understaffed police department, and at times even the fire department is understaffed. Those emergency services are essential to us. Spending, our infrastructure, that is another big component because our roads are veins throughout our city, and businesses, they want to come, but we have to have a solid infrastructure for it. The other part of that is retail growth, the third part of that. We've lost major shopping opportunities such as the shops of Stonecrest and other stores. We need to grow as a city and bring in those retail businesses so that we can keep tax dollars, retail sales tax dollars here in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, your opening statement and what you see as the top 3 issues facing Laverne.
Again, I'd like to repeat what my two colleagues have said. I want to thank the Women League of Voters for hosting this forum, and thank you very much for the professionalism that's been expressed in this and past forums that we've had. My first priority, one of my priorities that I feel within the city and as a sitting alderman at the time is to improve the efficiency of the city through the tax dollars that we have at our disposal in order for use. These, at no time will anyone be able to please everyone. So our main priority, when I say our main priority, is the board's main priority at this point, and my main priority is to make sure that we use what we have diligently and effectively and efficiently. Another priority of mine would be for the establishing a fixed income for our senior citizens and any citizen on a fixed income. I had a call just this week of an individual who's on a fixed income, and she, there was a water leak, and she was really at a loss as to what she's going to do. So establishing a fixed income so individuals can make sure that they have something to work with. My main priority since becoming alderman is to provide the citizen with the highest quality of service. And again, by using the monies that we have, yeah, our police are under budget, but they're doing a good job, and we are safe. Nashville is safe, but they're under budget and undermanned. So we're doing what we can with what we have, and I think we're pretty safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tyson, your opening statement and what you identify as the top 3 issues facing Laverne.
Thank you. My name is Kathy Tyson, and everyone knows the saying, speak your mind even if your voice shakes. I'm going to tell everyone in this room, and anyone watching my voice will probably be shaking tonight. But I did want to thank the League, especially Ms. Wells, Ms. Collum, Dr. Sayward, Ms. Lynchmeyer, and Ms. Whitehill. Thank you all for being here tonight. I want to thank the City of Laverne. I know a lot of you employees, our police and city administrator and other people are here working late. We really do appreciate it. And thank you, audience at home and here for learning more about all of us. And I want to thank also all of you other candidates. I know that it's really hard for us to put our reputations and everything on the line, and I want you all to know how much I appreciate all of us for doing this. The top 3 issues facing Laverne, I think the first one is going to be public safety. We hear Chief Walker time and again talk about we need at least X number of officers, anywhere from 10 to 20 to 30, to at least get us to the minimum where we are with comparable other cities. I think economic development is very important. I was part of the team, and it was a team effort to bring Walmart here. We worked diligently to get them, and that's something I'm very proud of, that we got Walmart. I did talk to the franchise operator at Bojangles, and he did confirm with me earlier this week that Bojangles is also going to be breaking ground soon, and that's very exciting. But I also think, and I will not make promises, but the water and sewer bill is a big concern. I do have some ideas. I can't promise we'll lower the rates, but I have some ideas maybe that will help us address these concerns, and I hope we'll get to those later on here in this forum. Thank you.
Thank you. For our second question, we'll start with Mr. Cole. The question is, what prior experience do you have that would benefit the city of Laverne if elected?
Well, I'm a community volunteer. I serve as a yoke fellow under our deacons at my church. I've served here in the community on the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. Again, we volunteer at whether it's the Easter egg hunt, different events, movies in the park. I've served as vice chair for the beer board here in the city. I'm also on the Greenway Advisory Committee. So I've been active and involved in this community. I've been attending the Board of Mayor and Alderman meetings since roughly 2010. So I've been involved and I understand the issues that are going on throughout the city. I stay active and engaged throughout the community. That way I can understand what's going on and understand people, what the real causes are, behind what's happening in our city, as well as basically keeping in touch with everyone. So that would be my experience.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, what prior experience do you have that would benefit Laverne if elected?
First of all, I'd like to lean on my experience as an Army veteran as far as my discipline toward adversities and working with individuals. I've worked with the state of Tennessee. I've worked with the federal government in the state of Tennessee, or the state, all of my life. I was a state trooper prior to going to the Department of Veterans Affairs, where I'm currently employed there for the past 25 years. I've been a resident here in Laverne for 17 years, and my motto is, I believe in doing something for a city. I don't believe in standing back talking about it. I believe in doing something. I was former chairman of the Citizen Review Board, former member of the Laverne Board of Zoning and Appeals, known as VOZA, former chair of the Planning Commission, and I'm a current ex facto member at the time, and currently I'm an alderman of the city of Laverne.
Thank you. Ms. Tyson, what prior experience do you have that would benefit Laverne if elected?
Thank you for asking that question. I do have a Bachelor of Science degree in journalism and radio television. I worked 5 years with the city of Laverne as their public relations director first, and then I became their assistant city recorder and public information officer. I have completed the advanced public information officer training with the Department of Homeland Security Center for Domestic Preparedness. I'm actually getting ready to take a class to become a certified municipal finance officer with the city in which I'm now employed. I did serve again on the Economic Development Committee. I helped develop the web page before the current one that the city has now. I was the first one to develop a Facebook page or social media presence for Laverne. We were the first one in the county, the first government in the county to have that. I was an editor, an award-winning writer for State Government News, and I am a graduate of the National Institute for Public Finance. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Church, same question. What prior experience do you have that would benefit Laverne if elected?
My prior experiences, I helped establish and create the Greenway Advisory Committee back in the early 2000s. I sat on the committee for 4 years. I was also a former member of the Emergency Operations Committee that helped with the grants for our existing fire department. I have a grade 2 license in water and sewer distribution, which is the formality of installing and removing water pipes and sewer pipes. I have a background in water treatment plant. My actual employment at this time is I sit as the Director of Operations for a hazardous material response team, and I hold the Assistant Chief rank of that establishment. That's it.
Thank you. Shifting to our next question. We'll start with Mr. Jones. And the question is, how do you think Laverne should solve its current traffic problems?
Current traffic problems, with any growing city, there's going to be growing pains. We have already established, if I may use the pun, we've already given permission to get the ball rolling in our city in order to extend Old Nashville Highway. We've attempted to, and we've looked at other locations. Waldron Road was a wonderful accomplishment, a task that was completed as far as finishing out the route to the interstate itself. But as stated, we've started the process of doing the studies in order to extend the roads and look at what land needs to be purchased in order to do that, make that task happen.
Thank you. Ms. Tyson, how do you think that Laverne should solve its current traffic problems?
I have talked with a number of people, and one of the things that I hear repeatedly is to please find a way to sync the lights along Murfreesboro Road and Waldron Road. People stop almost at every light, it seems like sometimes. There are options also where some of the lights you can put them on yellow flashing after 11 o'clock from 11 till 6 a.m. or 7, so that will also keep the flow of traffic going. I think on the south side of I-24 there are a lot of very narrow, dangerous, twisty roads, and I'm glad to hear that the city is already possibly looking at those roads specifically. We need to, also there's an intersection right there past I-24 that is very difficult. You've got two lights on top of the other. I would like to see our engineering team maybe look at that and see if we can figure out how to straighten that intersection up.
Thank you. Mr. Church, how do you think that Laverne should solve its current traffic problems?
Well, one, we need to think about the rezoning in the future when we rezone a piece of land. If we're going to build something there, we need to look at the egress and everything for the property. Number two is, obviously we can't build a wall around Laverne. You know, we have the commute of Murfreesboro and Smyrna into Nashville, Davidson County. But the Metropolitan Transit Authority, as I've been working with them over the last 2.5 years, going to meetings, there is a plan to assist commuters from Murfreesboro, Smyrna to Laverne to in and out of Davidson County. It's just taken a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort. So the more people that we can do mass transit, the less congestion we will have. But as you see, I sit at the same red lights as every other citizen. So.
Thank you. Mr. Cole, how do you think that Laverne should solve its current traffic problems?
We need to do a traffic study, both of our lights and of the number of cars that are coming through, and that's all the way from Murfreesboro Road and Fergus, all the way to the, I would say, the other side of the interstate of I-24. Kathy Tyson mentioned a intersection that's actually very close to my own home, right by MAPCO and Dollar General, where one gentleman has even lost his life there. And so we need to look at the situation with our roads and make sure that it's safe for our residents, make sure that it's efficient so that people can drive basically from their home, whether it's Morningside, Lake Forest, Woodland Hills, and get basically where they need to go without spending, 30, 40 minutes on the road stuck in traffic.
Thank you. Our fourth question, we'll start with Ms. Tyson. If elected, what would you like to accomplish during your term in office?
I would like to jump back to the question of water and sewer. Again, I know that's a huge issue for the people of this community, and I know that 4 or 5 years ago our hands were tied in increasing those rates. However, there is an option, and it's not going to be an easy option. I have talked with someone who does this for a living, and they said it's a project that's going to take 4 to 5 years to make it happen. It's going to take funding, and it's going to take a lot of hard work from city employees and probably other people as well. But that is to find land, find funding, and let's look into building a green wastewater treatment plant so we can stop depending on sending our wastewater to Nashville. We're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars every month to send that out to Nashville. And if there's a way that we can address that and take care of our own and turn that waste into fertilizer and resell it, I think it's an option that we need to look into at least. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Church, if elected, what would you like to accomplish during your term in office?
One of my goals is to assist in the high crime rate. What we have one of the highest juvenile crime rates in the county. And as being a troubled youth myself, I think I have a little experience. I think we should create a second chance program for these kids, nonviolent offenders. If they are arrested in Laverne, we create a work activity program. We don't just send them out for them to pick up trash. We put them in khaki pants, a polo shirt, we teach them a trade. We take these kids to the water treatment plant. We turn them into water treatment operators. We teach them how to do backhoes, track hose, drive dump trucks. I've met with MTASC, and there is an amendment in our insurance that will cover this. There also is a federal grant for this. If you can change someone's life at a teen, they may even grow up and be successful one day.
Thank you. Mr. Cole, if elected, what would you like to accomplish during your term in office?
Well, I would like to see our crime rate go down. As of the last budget meeting with the city, as far as the budget workshop, our police chief said that he needed an additional 14 officers. And with calls for service going up drastically, I would like to see that accomplished. I'd also like to see our debt addressed. In 2014, we had $38,824,472 in debt. For 2016, there's roughly a $300,000 difference. And our city is now looking at as Alderman Jones said, rolling the ball or getting the ball rolling on widening Old Nashville Highway. That will add to that. New city buildings, they're looking at another $42 million. Will add to that. So we've got to get that debt down. I'd also like to see the lakefront developed. We have beautiful access to the lake, but it's pretty much a boat dock and a parking lot.
Thank you very much. For our fifth question, we will start with Mr. Church. The question is, what would you do if elected as an alderman to increase civility and cooperation on the board?
That's a great question. Do we need to stop?
Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. Thank you. I apologize. Mr. Jones, I lost track of my chart here. Let me return to the fourth question. Mr. Jones, if elected, what would you like to accomplish during your term in office?
During my term in office, one of the main things that I would love to see is a little bit more, I'd like to provide the citizens with the highest quality of service at the lowest possible cost. Again, in order to run any business, any city, any municipality, you're going to have to spend money. We've got to make sure that we have money coming in. Hopefully we have more coming in than we do going out. And the main thing that we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to fix the things that we can fix and work on the things that we need to work on as far as building our budget and working on a budget to build the new buildings in the city. Everyone who's ever been here knows that we've got to have better buildings and better locations for the city in order to function at a higher rate, at a higher capacity. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize for scheduling confusion earlier. The fifth question to Mr. Church, what would you do if elected as an alderman to increase civility and cooperation on the board?
Stability and cooperation on the board.
I'm sorry, civility,
civility.
not
Okay.
stability.
All right.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. I guess overall, we really need to open up the communication gap from the board and the citizens. I've lived here 30 years, and there was a time you could come in and address this board in a manner where you could ask a question and get an answer. Crime is high. We want to know why. We're told that the police department's undermanned. We need to know why. And if we have $38 million worth of debt, but we're being told we have a surplus, we need to know why. It's really important to make sure everyone's on the same page. Even if you disagree, you can be on the same page and have different ideas. The most important thing is to make sure that, going back to my original statement, the people that helped create Laverne aren't forgotten.
Thank you. Mr. Cole, what would you do if elected as an alderman to increase civility and cooperation on the board?
Communication is a key. Where I work, I supervise a very large team of individuals, various backgrounds, all have various ideas on what we can do better. And part of that is communication, how we can get through that, and just talking, understanding each other, and listening openly. I think that's one of the challenges with the board currently is nobody wants to really listen, except for maybe Alderman Broker, to the residents and listen to what they have, work with them, and grow this city, take it forward, progress in a positive way. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, same question. What would you do if elected as an alderman to increase civility and cooperation on the board?
I would do exactly what I've been doing for the past 2 years. I avail myself to anyone who wants. I've said multiple times that my phone number's listed, my site's listed, and if anyone calls me, just like my colleague, Alderman Broker, I speak with anyone who calls and wants to talk to me about any issues that there are. I don't feel that at any time I don't make myself accessible to anyone. I carry my communication device with me at any given time, and I'm accessible to any citizen of the city to speak with me and talk about any matter that needs to be discussed. And as I said, I will continue to be that way and continue to do as I've done.
Thank you. Ms. Tyson, what would you do if elected as an alderman to increase civility and cooperation on the board?
I don't know who said this, it's an unknown person, but someone said, I always wondered why somebody didn't do something about that, and then I realized I am somebody. Since I filed to run for office, it has been a very interesting race, and one for me that has opened a lot of doors to talk to people that I hadn't talked with before, and I've heard their thoughts and why some decisions have been made this way or some decisions have been made that way. And I go back to, again, what others have mentioned, you have to communicate. I think that when you are in a board meeting, you really have to ask questions, ask about all the issues that are on the table. Don't be afraid to speak up and say, well, this is a great proposal, but what if we added this to it? Talk about the ideas and maybe have that open, engaged discussion instead of just accepting what's laid out in front of you. And I would like to see more of that on this board.
Thank you. We'll start with our sixth question. We'll start with Mr. Cole. What are your thoughts about Laverne's 10-year plan?
Well, the 10-year plan, we need to grow. And that's, number one is retail growth. We've got to bring retail dollars into our city. We need a plan for infrastructure to get that taken care of. We have roads that haven't been paved in 20 or 30 years. We need to get those taken care of for those residents. We need to, as I said earlier, open up that lakefront. That's going to bring more people to our community, and they're going to bring tax dollars. At the same time, we also need to address crime. Crime is basically a big factor throughout our city. If you don't feel safe, regardless of what our city does, whether it's a 5K, a carnival, a festival, movies in the park, you're not going to go there if you don't feel safe. So that would be part of the 10-year plan.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, same question. What are your thoughts about Laverne's 10-year plan?
I think the 10-year plan is on track. I think that we're doing proper management as far as funds that are being raised for it. As far as paving roads, we've selected major roads and thoroughfares that can get that retail in. We have to be able to get the businesses in that are going to assist with giving us the revenue in order to go and pave the other streets. I can't address roads that haven't been paved, and I haven't been here that long to know what roads haven't been paved in over 30 years or 20 years. I do know that if there's a need, we keep the roads safe and the roads are passable. And to me, I think the 10-year plan is going according to plan.
Thank you. Ms. Tyson, what are your thoughts about Laverne's 10-year plan?
I know that the other candidates here have talked a lot about the roads, and I understand that paving every road once every 10 years was part of that plan, and I'm very glad to hear that that is on track. But it's more so than that. It is also, and I know that Mr. Cole had mentioned it, it is about the quality of life also. And I know that when I was with the city, and even before I was here, the city had met extensively with the Corps of Engineers to create Hurricane Creek Boat Ramp into a city park. There are a large number of grants available where we could build fishing piers, and we could maybe put a dog park there if that's what people want. But the world is our oyster. We've got it's an overlay district along Murfreesboro Road, and I think it's also part of Waldron Road, where as new construction comes in, they have to build to certain standards, and I really appreciate that. We're going to see brick buildings and other things like that as well.
Thank you. Mr. Church, what are your thoughts about Laverne's 10-year plan?
My thoughts on the 10-year plan, I guess, are fair. I am not for in any way for the $42 million worth of expansion to the government buildings. I think that would be a direct hit to the taxpayers. Infrastructure is one thing, roads, police, fire, EMS. If we spend $42 million on a city hall, a public works, a new fire hall, it's just going to set us back even more because it doesn't alter our traffic. It doesn't change the overworked, understaffed police department. It doesn't change the fire department's response time on the narrowing of the roads. You know, as they're trying to get to a call, they put themselves in danger to help somebody else driving those big trucks. I really believe we need to focus on get the federal money in here, but when you get federal money, you have to use it appropriately. If you ask for, thanks.
Thank you. Our 7th question, we'll start with Mr. Jones. What should the Board of Mayor and Aldermen do to provide adequate staffing to the city's fire and police departments?
First thing, one of the things that I proposed when I became an alderman is we're fighting with our surrounding counties. One of the major problems that, and I've spoken with colleagues of mine and other departments in other cities, and in no way is this an indictment against individuals. Everyone needs to live and make their lives better. You'll get an individual that might come here to this location and apply for the police department. We send that individual to the academy. And if we pay that individual X amount of dollars, and the next county over know that they're going to get a seasoned police officer who's already trained, and we can pay him X plus 10, that police officer is going to go to the other location. I think we should have an incentive to keep the individuals here. We should siphon the payment.
Thank you. Ms. Tyson, what should the Board of Mayor and Aldermen do to provide adequate staffing to the city's fire and police departments?
That is a hard question because it always comes back to money. You're going to have money to hire more officers. You're going to have more money to be able to equip them the way they need to be equipped, whether it's with a vest or a car that isn't driven 24 hours by every different officer that comes in. It's going to take money. And I think that said, we probably should be looking very hard at how our money is spent every fiscal year. Do we need some of the extra positions that we're seeing? And I love all of you who are here, all you employees, but really we need to take a long, hard look at that. Are we spending the money the way it needs to be spent rather than building more police officers or building our fire department? I do have to say I like how they have the volunteer fire force where those folks are trained to step in if anyone does leave. if, as Alderman Jones says, they get pulled away to another community because they have that training and they're going to the other community with more pay.
Thank you. Mr. Church, what should the Board of Mayor and Aldermen do to provide adequate staffing to the city's police and fire departments?
I think the board and mayor and aldermen need to get out of the day-to-day operations of the police department and the fire department. That's why we have department heads. I also believe we have master's degree professionals, associate degree professionals working for our existing police department. They can go anywhere in the country and get a job. They choose to stay here. So we need to remember that. If you let them do their job, they'll do their job. If you give them help, like they're asking for, they'll do their job even better. Every night they go to work and their families know that they're under fatigue, stress, and hardship. The cars have over 100,000 miles. The equipment is weak. And I have watched them personally pass up on certain things so the next officer can have it. It happens at both departments, the fire and police. And I think it's time we pay a little closer attention to that.
Thank you. Mr. Cole, what should the Board of Mayor and Aldermen do to provide adequate staffing to the city's police and fire departments?
Our board needs to determine if public safety is a priority or not. To me, it is. We have seen countless times reports of whether it's residents being shot, car chases through our neighborhoods, whole subdivisions as far as their major streets with cars being broken into all the way down the street. We have to prioritize, do we want safety for not just the residents, but for our men and women who are serving? Or do we want to just keep kicking the can down the road, which has happened? And that's the same for both fire and for the police, because that's hand in hand the safety of our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last question will be a 2-minute question. You may answer the question as well as making a closing statement. So we'll start with you, Ms. Tyson. Why are you running for alderman?
I am running because I think that people should have a choice in who they vote for. I am running because I have been a public servant to the city, both a paid public servant as an employee and as a volunteer since 2003. And I don't think that anyone I know or am acquainted with could ever question how much I love my city. I think that what drives people to public service is the sense of possibility. And we have so many tremendous possibilities here in our town. You know, we've talked about the park. I would like to also see, and the job I have now, I would never have thought that I would have appreciated punching a clock, but I punch a clock now. And I think that I would like to see every employee in our city, from the top to the part-time people, everyone should punch that clock for that accountability. I am running also because I would like to see our city revisit our charter. It is very old. It's a great document, but we have in that charter where one person has the opportunity at times to vote twice, and I don't think in a democracy one person should get 2 votes. In our charter, we need to strengthen it also so that our committees, whether they're Parks and Recreation or Economic Development Advisory Committee, where they are more defined in what their responsibilities are. In closing, I want to thank everyone who has registered to vote, and I want to encourage everyone, get out there and vote. Go to early voting, follow your heart, listen to what everyone up here has said, who has the most experience, whose ideas do you like the most, and pull that lever and pick that person who will lead Laverne here in the next 4 years.
Thank you. Mr. Church, your closing statement and your answer to the question, why are you running for alderman?
I'm running for alderman for that boy right there. I grew up in a little trailer park over here. We didn't have any money. We went down to the Cone Station. That's where we got our snacks and with food stamps. So if a boy 30 years ago can grow up in a town and almost 30 years later, sit at a table with these fine people, talking to some of the wealthiest people and some of the poorest people in the community. That makes it all worth it. I'm running to be the voice for the people that can't be heard. And I really believe there's a lot of people out there. I may be rough around the edges, but my heart is true. I have a beautiful wife that is supporting me through this battle. And let me tell you, campaigning's tough, guys. You know, it's really hard. But what I can say, from the builders down, the builders helped create Laverne. We're not trying to run them out of the city. We just want them to do things by codes. The board, the mayor and aldermen, they're not terrible people. They all have their own agenda. But think about it. If a boy from Stones River, right over here off of Centennial, can grow up and become a leader in the community, I go back to look at how many lives we can change. And we may be influencing people right now. And I'm really blessed to be here sitting in front of you ladies. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cole, your closing statement, and why are you running for alderman?
Yes, ma'am. The reason why I'm running is because my heart is to serve my city. And I currently don't feel like our city is necessarily representing our residents at all times. We have residents from one side to the other who, they go unheard, whether it's, some of our seniors who have had their homes flooded, or neighborhoods who basically they weren't built to code and the city doesn't act on it. We need people up here who have a heart to serve and who will realize that they work as public servants for the residents. They don't serve themselves or any agendas. They're there to serve the people. That's why I'm running. We need to get back to public servitude. I have a wife. I have children that live here. I have parents who still live here. I want this city to be the best it can be for all of us. That's why I'm running. Again, my name's Jason Cole. Early voting starts tomorrow, runs through November 3rd. I would appreciate it if you would come out. If you vote for me, wonderful. I appreciate it. But still, come out. I'll be at early voting the whole time. We'd be glad to talk to anybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, your closing statement and your answer to the question, why are you running for alderman?
I'm running for alderman to continue on a job that I started 2 years ago, and I'd like to continue until I can finish the things that we have started out and make the city a better place to live. As I stated before, I don't believe in standing back behind a screen and writing complaints. I don't believe in talking about people behind their back. If it's something that needs to be done, I'll step forward and I like to do it. I like to talk to people face to face. A lot of times people have called me and I've set up meetings with them so we can meet face to face, because I like to do things that way, and that's how I will continue to do it. I don't know why or where it's coming from that this city is that we're at the midst of being in Dodge City. Yeah, the police have a lot of calls and everything, and the police are undermanned. But we've got to crawl before we can walk, and we've got to walk before we can run. We're working on hiring more police officers. Since my tenure started, we've hired 6 police officers. We've hired 15 part-time firemen. We've purchased 10 police cars. There are no cars out there that these policemen are driving in a chase that's got 100,000 miles on it. It was my understanding that they don't drive cars at 100,000 miles. I'll check on that after this meeting to see if that's correct, but I don't see that happening if they've got 10 brand new police cars that are waiting to go into service. I don't see these things happening like that. We've purchased equipment for the fire and police department. We've had stuff donated from the federal government to the fire and police department. We send out for grants on anything that we can get. We've increased our general fund budget from $6 million to $11 million. People, I don't know exactly where the other side of this conversation is starting, but the numbers that I see, we're doing a lot better than it sounds like from my constituents, my colleagues up here on this board talking. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, on behalf of the League of Women Voters in the City of Laverne, I want to thank all of the candidates for your participation here today. Please remember to leave your mic on the table before you leave. Don't take it home with you. I also want to recognize the City Administrator, Bruce Richardson, and the Media Services staff for their cooperation in presenting this program on Channel 3 on Comcast and Channel 99 on UVerse and making it available on the city website. I want to encourage all citizens to vote. Early voting begins tomorrow, October 19th, and goes through November 3rd. Election Day is November 8th. Please exercise this important right to determine who will be the Laverne Board of Mayor and Aldermen Council, who will be on the Laverne Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Remember, your vote counts. May we please close with a round of applause for our candidates.